You're at the dog park. Two dogs start playing. They're chasing each other in wide, looping circles. Their play is fast and chaotic and totally normal for dogs. And then your Border Collie locks eyes on them. You see the shift happen in real time. Their body goes rigid. Their stare intensifies. Within seconds, they're barking, circling, trying to cut off the chase. Your Border Collie has appointed themselves the fun police. You think your dog is being rude or aggressive. Maybe you think they're being dominant and need to learn boundaries. But what if they're actually responding to something you can't see? What if your dog isn't trying to ruin the park? They're trying to fix a problem their brain genuinely believes exists. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your Border Collie feels a moral obligation to stop other dogs from moving unpredictably, and you'll never feel embarrassed about this behavior again, because it's not a flaw, it's a window into how their brain actually works. To understand this, we have to go back 200 years. Border Collies were built for one job, to make constant decisions about controlling movement. Not just any movement, the movement of sheep. For 2 centuries, breeders selected dogs that could read a flock, anticipate where sheep would go, and redirect them with the smallest possible cue. A whistle, a body position, a stare. This isn't just training. This is selective breeding for a specific brain wiring. Your Border Collie's nervous system is fundamentally different from a Labrador or a Golden Retriever because of what their ancestors were asked to do, generation after generation. Now here's where it gets important. All dogs have something called the predatory motor sequence. It's the ancient hunting blueprint: stalk, eye contact, chase, catch, kill. Most dogs have all 5 stages wired in, but herding dogs, especially Border Collies, have an incomplete sequence. They stalk, they make intense eye contact, they chase, and they herd, but they never kill. That incompleteness creates something that runs constantly in a herding dog's nervous system, the compulsion to control. That intense stare your Border Collie gives you? That's not just intensity. That's the first stage of the predatory sequence activating. It's the eye, the moment the brain locks onto a target and prepares to manage its movement. At the dog park, when 2 dogs start playing chaotically, something happens in your Border Collie's brain. The movement triggers the herding response automatically. Your dog sees uncontrolled running, and their nervous system interprets it as a problem that needs solving. Not because they learned it, not because they're trying to be mean, because their brain is wired to detect movement without purpose and correct it. Here's the key difference between your Border Collie and other dogs. Most dogs see play and enjoy it. They see chaos and they don't care. Your Border Collie sees play and immediately evaluates whether it's safe, whether it's orderly, whether it follows the rules of movement they were born to understand. To them, movement without pattern is an error. Movement without responsiveness to external cues is a problem. Unpredictable direction changes feel wrong in a way that most dogs never experience. This is all happening below conscious thought. Your dog isn't deciding to be annoying. Their nervous system is responding to a stimulus, chaotic movement, the same way their ancestors responded when sheep scattered in a field. The drive to organize it, control it, bring it back into a pattern that makes sense. Now here's where it gets more complex. It's not just instinct. It's also about what happens inside your Border Collie's nervous system when they encounter chaos. Border Collies don't just want to control movement, they need to. There's a critical difference, and it explains why your dog can't simply let it go at the dog park. The dopamine system in herding breeds is wired differently than in most dogs. Their brains reward work, reward problem solving, reward the sensation of taking chaos and organizing it into something that makes sense. For 200 years, that reward system was fed by the job they were born to do. Your dog's ancestors got dopamine hits from working sheep all day. Their brains were shaped to crave that sensation. Now your Border Collie lives in your house. They go to the dog park, and what they find is movement without purpose, play that follows no pattern, chasing with no goal beyond the chase itself. To their brain, this isn't entertainment, it's an unsolved problem. When your dog watches those 2 dogs playing chaotically, their brain registers something incomplete, an error that needs correcting. And because their dopamine system rewards solving these problems, your dog becomes compelled to step in. They need to make the movement stop or change into something orderly, not because they're mean, because completing that task, bringing chaos into order, is how their nervous system is designed to feel calm. But here's what happens when they can't complete it. When the other dogs keep playing, when you call your Border Collie away, when the chaotic movement continues regardless of their intervention, your dog's brain recognizes an incomplete job, and incomplete jobs create cortisol buildup, stress, anxiety, a sense that something is fundamentally wrong. This is where people get confused. They think their Border Collie is trying to be dominant or aggressive. They see the barking and body checking and assume the dog is being rude. But that's not what's happening. Your dog is dysregulated. They're trying to reduce their own anxiety by imposing order on an environment that feels chaotic to them. The fun police behavior is actually a self-soothing mechanism gone sideways. Your Border Collie is trying to feel calm by controlling what they see. It's compulsive because the need is genuine, the drive is real. The anxiety from unresolved chaos is not something your dog can simply ignore. And there's something else most owners don't realize. Your Border Collie doesn't just absorb chaos from their environment, they absorb it from you. Remember what we said about the predatory motor sequence and the intense eye contact? That same nervous system that reads sheep movements on a hillside is reading you in real time. Your Border Collie detects every micro movement of your hands, every shift in your breathing, every change in your emotional state. When you get embarrassed at the dog park because your dog is being the fun police, your cortisol goes up, your stress becomes visible. Your Border Collie senses it immediately. This creates a feedback loop. Your dog tries to control the movement. You get embarrassed. Your dog feels your anxiety spike. Their cortisol syncs with yours. The situation now feels more dangerous to them, the chaos more urgent. They escalate their efforts to bring order to something their brain now reads as genuinely unsafe. This isn't a dominance issue, it's a regulation issue. Your Border Collie is stuck in a cycle where their attempt to solve the problem amplifies it. They can't stop because the need to complete the task is wired into their nervous system. Now let's talk about what your Border Collie actually sees when they're looking at those chaotic dogs at the park. Border Collies have extreme visual stimulus sensitivity. They were bred to detect micro movements at distance, a sheep shifting its weight, a lamb turning its head, a slight change in gait that signals the flock is about to move. This selective breeding created a nervous system exceptionally tuned to motion and change. Inside your house, this shows up in ways you've probably noticed. Your Border Collie chases shadows as light moves across the floor. They fixate on a spot for minutes. They notice the tiniest movement from across the room. Most owners think it's cute or quirky, but what's actually happening is your dog's visual processing system is hyperactive compared to other breeds. They notice what other dogs completely miss. At the dog park, this visual hypervigilance becomes the core of the problem. When two dogs start playing, they're creating rapid, unpredictable directional changes. One accelerates, the other cuts left. They reverse direction, they pause, they lunge forward. To your eyes, it's just play. Normal dog behavior. But to your Border Collie's visual system, this is chaos that violates everything they understand about movement. Remember, your Border Collie's ancestors worked with sheep that responded to directional cues. Movement had logic. Sheep moved in a direction and maintained it. They responded to the dog's signals. They followed predictable patterns the shepherd could influence. That's what your Border Collie's visual system is calibrated to expect and manage. When other dogs play without that responsiveness, without that pattern, without that predictability, your Border Collie is seeing a violation of fundamental rules they were born to understand. They don't see two dogs having fun. They see a pattern that doesn't make sense. But there's something else happening that most owners never realize. Your Border Collie isn't just seeing what those dogs are doing. They're reading micro signals you can't perceive. A shift in weight distribution, the exact angle of an ear, a change in gait that signals a directional change before it happens. Your dog is reading the other dogs at a level of detail that's almost invisible to human perception. When those signals don't lead to orderly, predictable movement, your Border Collie's brain registers a communication failure. It's like they're trying to speak the language of herding to the other dogs, but the other dogs aren't listening. They're not responding. They're not following the rules. That's when the intensity of your Border Collie's stare escalates. They're not trying to be aggressive. They're trying to lock the other dogs into a predictable pattern using the only language they know, the herding eye. But most dogs don't speak that language. They don't understand the stare. They don't respond to the subtle body positioning. They just keep playing chaotically. When the herding signals don't work, escalation happens. The barking starts, the body checking, the circling. Your Border Collie is intensifying their attempt to communicate because the first attempt failed. They're not giving up. They're doubling down because their nervous system won't let them stop until the chaos resolves. This brings us to the real cost of this misunderstanding. Your Border Collie isn't trying to ruin the park experience. They're not being difficult or rude or dominant. They're doing the job they were born to do. They're solving a problem they genuinely believe exists. And when you call them away, when you correct them, when you get frustrated with them, your dog doesn't understand why the work they're compelled to do is being rejected. This is where the real damage happens. Border Collies form singular, intense bonds with their owners. They're not just looking for approval. They're looking to you for guidance about what matters. They're watching your face for signals about whether the situation is safe. And when you correct their fun police behavior, when you seem stressed or embarrassed about it, your dog receives a message their brain can't reconcile. The work they believe in is wrong. The problem they see isn't real. The thing they need to do is being forbidden. That creates genuine psychological conflict. Your Border Collie is being told to stop doing the thing that makes them feel calm and purposeful. It's like asking you to watch a house fire and do nothing. Your dog doesn't have the cognitive flexibility to say, "Oh, that's just play at the dog park, so I'll ignore it." Their nervous system doesn't work that way. The drive is automatic. The need is real. And here's what most owners don't realize. Suppressing this drive doesn't eliminate it. It just stores it. Your Border Collie goes home with unresolved anxiety, with incomplete work, with cortisol still elevated because the problem in their mind was never solved. Over time, this creates a dog who is chronically stressed, who fixates more, who develops compulsions and obsessions in other areas of their life. The solution isn't to eliminate the drive, it's to redirect it. Your Border Collie needs a job. They need structure. They need clarity about their role in your partnership. The fun police behavior at the park isn't a problem to fix, it's information. Your dog is telling you something crucial. They need more mental engagement, clearer boundaries, and a defined way to contribute meaningfully to your household. When you give your Border Collie a real job, when you create a role for them where their natural drive to control and organize and solve problems is valuable instead of forbidden, something shifts. The anxiety decreases, the compulsive behaviors quiet down. Your dog finally feels like they're doing what they were meant to do. This isn't obedience training. This is honoring who your dog actually is. Let's bring this together. The genetics, the predatory sequence, the visual sensitivity, the cortisol sync with you, the attachment bond. In your Border Collie, these aren't separate forces. They're one system. They're woven together so completely that you can't separate one from the others. Your dog isn't being difficult. They're being a Border Collie in a world that doesn't understand what that means. Next time you see this behavior at the park, instead of feeling embarrassed, recognize it for what it actually is, your dog asking for clarity about their role. They're telling you they need a job. They're showing you the exact shape of what they need to feel secure. This is what Collie Mind is for, understanding your Border Collie at a level most owners never reach. If this video resonated with you, subscribe. Share this with every Border Collie owner you know who's felt that moment of shame at the dog park, because they need to know their dog isn't broken. Their dog is working.